Hey everybody, Garcia here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a cooperative vampire game in which we must take over the city. Masters of the Night. In this game, we are each going to represent a vampire, part of a vampire family, and we are in a new city, and there's these agents that are on to us. And so we need to make minions, have those minions help us take over different districts in the city, keep the agents at bay, and ultimately build up enough power to perform this blood ritual and win the entire thing. So that's the theme and what's going on in the game. Let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works, what it looks like, and then I'll see you on the other side for my final thoughts. So here we've got the game set up for 3 players. You're going to build the layout of the city in these districts randomly, 3 by 3. Everybody gets one of these vampire sheets. 4 blood droplets here. The tracker on the side of the sheet that is going to track your abilities whenever you take out the agents, the bad guys. Well, you're the bad guys, but you know what I mean. Everybody also has one of these sigils. And then you'll put out the correct tracker over here for 3 players in this case. This one, you'll build up this deck of cards, which are events, things that will happen to you. There's also these over here, which are called relics. And then everybody begins at the railway station there with 3 players. All 3 players are there. And then you've also got one of your minions that begins in that space. The game also comes with miniatures for the vampires here. So these are the minis. They're very nice miniatures, but I figured for the overview here, I'll show you just the tokens, and they say you can use either thing. You can use the miniatures or you can use the tokens, but there they are, just so you can take a look at those. All right, so let me take you through generally how the game works, but first, let's talk about how you win or lose the game. So there are 3 ways in which the game will end, okay? The first one is performing the blood ritual. If you manage to do that, you win the game, and I'll explain what that is. And then 2 ways in which we lose. 1, the veil tracker here goes all the way to the bottom, or we run out of these cards and don't have one to draw. That times you out, okay? So what is this blood ritual that we need to perform? Well, in order to make that happen, every vampire has to have their sigil out on one of the districts of the city, okay? Any one of them. In order to do that, you need to move your tracker all the way to the bottom here for the sigil ability. Once this is done, then all the players need to be in the same district. There have to be no agents present, and there also have to be as many minions as the number of vampires. So all 3 of us together somewhere with 3 of these minions, no bad guys, which are these are the bad guys, okay? And then somebody has to perform the blood ritual action. A lot of stuff, okay? So, that's how the game ends. So what do we do on a turn? Well, there's no player aid. I was hoping that the back of the rule book would have a player aid, but instead it's credits back here. But I'll walk you through it, okay? So, the first thing is the day phase, and during the day phase, a couple of things are going to happen. We're going to check every district that has a day symbol, like this one here. They have night symbols and day symbols, and you are going to read them all and check if they trigger. Right now, you don't have to worry about that too much, but later on, as these agents and the minions build up, you'll have to check them. Many of them say if there are more agents than minions, this happens. If there are more minions than agents, this happens, okay? So for example, let's take a look at one here, the museum, okay? It says, at the start of the day, if there are more minions than agents in this district, draw 1 relic card. You can only do that, though, if you have enough, if you're leveled up enough here that you get to the second step, which says relic 1, then you can have a relic card, not before that. So that's the first thing, is checking them all for that. Second thing, we draw a card here, and we deal with it. The card is going to show you a grid, and on that grid there's 1 red X and 2 blue X's here. Well, the red X is going to get 2 of these. And they have 2 sides, hidden and revealed. So they come into play hidden, and they're going to come into play right there. And then the 2 blue ones, as you can see here on this sheet, the red gets +2, 1 blue gets +1, the other one gets nothing. So you have the choice of where you put it. I'm going to go ahead and put it here at the asylum, or I could put it over here at the cathedral, okay? Once that's done, you do the blood ritual. And the blood ritual in this case, whatever the the box says, the text, and it says choose a vampire. That vampire loses 1 blood. Fine, this player's going to lose 1 blood, and that's it for that one. If at any point during this step, any of these minions, agents, those words are very, I keep having to remember what they mean, but agents are these. If any of these are placed into a place that has any of our characters, any vampires, any of our minions, then the veil is going to go down by 1 per district, okay? And that's really out of your control. It could just happen and the veil drops. So that's it for the day phase, and then we go into the night phase where we can flip this over, and each vampire is going to get 2 actions. The actions you have at the beginning are listed up here, and as you take out the agents, you'll have access to a few new things, okay? So the first one's move, and that costs 1 of your 2 actions. What does that mean? Move. There, 1, 2, that's my whole turn if I do that. The second one, expose agents. All the agents on your tile, you can expose them and flip them over. That's the only time you can attack them. You can fight agents, which is going to be done with these dice, and I'll come back to combat in a little bit. You can recruit a minion. To recruit a minion, you're going to grab one of these, put it where you are, and you will increase the veil by 1. That takes 2 actions, though, so that is your entire turn. Or, the final one is you can use a nighttime effect. Nighttime effects are on tiles that show the nighttime symbol, such as this one here. For example, at the City Hall, it says, spend 2 AP action points to recruit 1 minion into any district instead of this one. Increase the veil by 1 like in a normal recruit action. So there we go. Obviously you need to be there in order to do that, okay? Once we, again, unlock some things, you'll have access to new abilities. And then there's one final one in your player color, which is your inherent ability. It costs you blood. It does not have a cost in action points. So, for instance, Mesmerize over here, that she has, is going to cost her 1 blood, and it says, move 1 minion or agent, even unexposed. I'm reading this upside down, so from an adjacent district into your district. Okay, got it. So, she's going to go ahead and take her 2 actions. You want to try to race up this track, so you're trying to take out these characters, and keep these places clear, make sure this doesn't bottom out, okay? So here's how combat works. These 6 dice at the beginning of the game were all rolled and set aside. And you are going to pick, from all of these, which ones you're going to use for the combat. 1 for each of the agents in there that you're fighting. And again, they have to be revealed. If you pick a 5 or a 6, you eliminate them. You move up 1 on the tracker. If you choose a 4 or a 3, same thing. You eliminate them. You move up on the tracker, but you also take 1 hit. And if it's a 1 or a 2, you just take 1 hit. You do not eliminate them. The problem is you have to go through all of these dice before you re-roll the pool. And if you're the one who's attacking them, you get to make the choice as to what you want to use. If during the day phase, after we've activated all the places, and after we revealed a card and dealt with the entirety of that card, if there's anywhere on the board where we have either a minion or a vampire, if there's a vampire and 3 of these bad characters or more, then they'll attack you during the day and you are weaker during the day, and so the dice that are picked are the lower ones. You don't have a choice. You take the lowest one per bad guy in there and deal with that, okay? And again, as soon as the pool of dice here is gone, you can re-roll it, okay? So there we go. You can also, whenever there's a fight, if there are any minions in there as well, you can remove these 1-to-1 to make that fight easier for yourself. But these take your entire turn to bring back into play, so, be aware of that. So there you go. That's going to do it for us. Let's go ahead and go back up top. This game looks awesome, and I was certainly very excited to play it. Unfortunately, I was pretty disappointed by it. So let's go ahead and talk about, how I found the game to sort of play out. There's a few things I really like, starting with, like I said, the theme. I think the theme here is excellent. I love the vibe, the setting, the whole thing is very moody and engaging. So I really like that. And then on the tail of that is the aesthetics, The artwork, I think, is really excellent. Most of the graphic design is also pretty good. I love the black and white aesthetic with the bright splotches of red. That looks great on the table. I think one of the big problems in the game, and this is a graphic design problem, is having all of these tiles have so much text on them. It's terrible. I mean, you are facing these right side up, and you play this game all the time, and then maybe you'll just start to internalize what the asylum does and what the police department does and, the museum and all that. You're playing this for the first time, the tiles are upside down to you, and they're across a board. You're going to be asking people what everything is, every time. I don't know how it eluded the graphic designers on the game that symbols on these would have been incredibly easier to understand and to see across the table. They're not that complicated, but they're so wordy. I mean, the whole thing here is so wordy. And this could have been taken care of in 3 symbols. So that's a big letdown there. Something that is one of those unfortunate letdowns. Come on, this could have been caught. Replay value. It's okay. There's some nice amounts of relics in the game. And you do have in total here 6 vampires. So that's pretty good. They're all identical except for the 2 powers, but that's enough. That's a nice amount of variety, and they all do have their own sigil is different as well. Okay, so that's good. The game scales with these. So 2 vampires, you play with that. 3, 4, 5 vampires. So that works out well. There are more of these bad cards, the ones with the passage of time cards, whatever they're called. There's more of them than you'll see in one single game. So that's good. The replay value is all right. It would be higher if the game was a little more, you'll see some of my other thoughts here. Game arc is by far my biggest problem, and I'm going to come back to it, in fact. I think the ease of play is okay. It could have used player rates. I am flabbergasted every time I see a game that contains no player rates and yet chooses to waste the back of the rulebook on something they could have put on the inside here. If you're not going to include player aids, and I don't know why you're not including player aids, then put it on the back of the rule book. Come on, this is one of those things that we should no longer have to deal with. Tactics, luck, strategy. The game feels unbelievably punishing. There's plenty of luck as well in the game. Those dice, the dice system reads more cleverly than it plays. Because it's, this idea of, that's cool, you can choose which die you pick to fight. Yeah, but you're still rolling them. You're just rolling them ahead of the fight. There is one tile out of the city that if there's more of your people there than the bad people, then you can pick one die and make it better. And the reverse is true. If there's more of theirs than yours, you pick one die, the highest die, and it goes down. So, you're kind of programming them in, but you still roll them. You still could have a garbage roll with a bunch of, 3s and lower, and it's just going to be a bad time for the next few fights. So, a lot of luck. And then the worst offender when it comes to luck is these. Flipping over one of these, you're never sure where the bad guys are going to show up. And if they show up where there is one of your characters there, or one of your minions, veil drops. That veil is going to vanish on you, okay? There's not a whole lot you can do about that. So, game arc. Here's my big problem with the game. The game feels, like I said, incredibly punishing. I have never made it past the second stage. Like, I've never made it past these number 2 cards to see any of the 3 cards in the game. Never. I've always been eliminated before that, okay? Okay, so you suck at the game, I can hear you thinking. Alright, fine. Let's say I do suck at this game, so let's talk about other things. In the game, anything potentially cool that you can do is way backloaded, okay? Putting out your sigil, having access to your secondary special ability. This is all going to come way later in the game. You will not have access to a turn that is more than 2 actions, probably for a long time. And so the game, the way it plays out, you feel like you're doing nothing on your turn. You will do 2 actions. Some of those actions literally take the entirety of your turn. Tiles that take 2 actions mean that you have to be there. Like this one, both of these actions, the nightclub, spend 2 AP to regain life and then increase your kill count. City Hall, spend 2 to recruit a minion into any district. They both require you to be there at the beginning of your turn. Because if you're going to move into it, you no longer have 2 actions. So you're doing so little on your turn that it feels like a big game of sort of upkeep, you know? It's like, check all these places, read all this text. Okay. Flip over a card, some bad guys show up. Read the text at the bottom, some more stuff happens. Okay, now it's us. Take 2 actions. Move. Great. Who's next? I'm going to summon a minion. Okay, that's it. Who's next? That's it. Like, you do nothing. And so everything that's cool are these. The absolute last thing you'll do in the game. You know? The relics. Some of them might give you a 3rd action point on your turn. This game feels, to me, every time I play it, I feel like I am tied to a chair with both arms behind my back, trying to sluggishly sort of like make it to the door of whatever room I'm in by slowly scooting over, and in between every scooting over, I have to read a page of a book. That's what it feels like. It just drags. It anchors you to the ground, and anything you want to achieve is just incredibly slow. And yet the game looks so good. There are all these neat things and kind of, ideas in it, but the game refuses to give it up. It doesn't want you to do it. It's like, here's cool stuff. You don't get to play with it, mind you. What do you think this is? You gotta suffer if you want any of this stuff. And the veil is just going to take a punishing. Like I said, if you drop out, if all your blood is gone, you come back, you don't die, but the veil drops. So it just takes a beating. The game will probably be over. You'll probably lose because the veil just bottoms out on you, okay? That's what's happened to me many times. I've never won. It's one of those games that I assume is not impossible. It's been play tested, I'm sure. I believe they've put together a balanced game here. It just feels impossible, okay? So that's where I'm at. Some good things and some truly awful things, in my opinion. I think this game arc is one of the worst game arc negatives I've given out in a long time. And it just kind of breaks my heart because I wanted this game to be good. It looks awesome. Are you kidding me? That looks amazing. I love vampires. I love co-ops. Come on. But like I said, the game just kind of refuses to give it up, to give you some abilities so that you can have a good time. So there you go. Do I hate the game? I find it frustrating, incredibly frustrating. I think it's still cool looking and kind of, seems like a neat world to inhabit. But the graphic design issues, some obvious things they should have done, the sluggish nature of the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know if I can recommend this one. There's way too many cool co-op games out there. Not with vampires, so you're going to lose out on that. But still way too many good co-ops out there. So for me, this is going to get a 5.5 out of 10. It's just not one I can recommend. I feel bad about this one because I really wanted to like it, but it is just not something I can recommend in good conscience. It doesn't seem fun. At no point here can I think of, well, I keep trying, and I do keep trying. I did keep trying, playing again, and okay, well, let me try these characters instead. They say they recommend these characters. Let me try them. Okay, now let me try these other characters. Now let me do this. It's just, I can't make the game be fun. It just sort of like, it's punishment after punishment. It refuses to let me enjoy the things that it seems to offer. So yeah, 5.5 from me. There you go. This is Masters of the Night, like I said. And that's going to do it for this one, everybody. My name is Z Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.